Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, my ridiculous homeowner association called the police on me for trying to fix hurricane damage on my house and property. I got enough of these entitled busybodies and finally fought back. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the stories. Florida has always been famous for multiple things, but one of the least controversial things is the catastrophic hurricanes. No one can deny the fact that the hurricanes get progressively worse each year and there's always damage that's wreaked upon the houses. This year, all the houses on my street were mangled. Mine was no exception. The roof had been completely destroyed, forcing me to look into stronger options that the hurricanes would not be able to bring down. And it definitely did not help that my car was completely wrecked as well. My wife Tara has always been extremely smart, so it was no surprise that she discovered an unconventional but efficient roofing option. It was slightly expensive, but metal roofing seemed like the best option considering the severity of Floridian hurricanes. By the way, is that how you say it? Floridians? Either way. In addition, a metal roof would look significantly cooler as compared to most normal roofs. It sounded like a win-win situation to me. Tara had always been a play-by-the-book type of person, so she decided to check with the homeowner association before starting construction. The HOA did not even bother picking up the phone the first few times she tried ringing them. I did not even know why my wife bothered calling. They are easily some of the greediest people I've ever met. They try imposing fines on the people in our neighborhood for the silliest things. My immediate neighbor had to pay a heavy fine simply because his parents had decided to visit and stay over the weekend, but he failed to inform the HOA 2 weeks prior. They even tried to extract a fine from the single mother in our lane because her child cried too loud. Tara reasoned that if we start construction without letting them know, they would definitely use that to impose a fine on us. She rang a third time and they finally picked up. When she told them that we were going to fix our old roof and put a metal one, they asked her to hold. After 5 minutes, a different voice came to the phone to inform us that constructing a metal roof is prohibited according to the rules of the HOA. They immediately hung up before Tara could say anything at all. She was quite shocked from the abrupt end of that call. We decided that they are definitely bluffing and there's probably no rule that states metal roofs are banned. We went through the entire list of rules and regulations and discovered that there was in fact a rule pertaining to construction of metal roofs, but it was clearly referring to old-school tin roofs which were a safety hazard and could have fallen at any point and potentially injured someone. The roof we were planning on getting was much more permanent than the ones that the rule applied to, and it was made of stainless steel, so there should have been no problem at all. We tried contacting the HOA again, but they refused to respond. Over the next 4 days, we tried everything: calls, text, emails, and even post. The only thing left was sending a letter via pigeon because they ignored everything else. The leak in our roof was progressively getting worse and more water got into the house each day. With another hurricane predicted to hit soon, we had no choice but to start construction immediately. I had heard from the other residents too that they had been ghosted by the HOA and they too had to start construction without waiting for permission. I figured they could not fault all of us, so it should be okay. About a couple of days into construction, Tara and I were shocked to hear sirens outside our door. We stepped out to see a police car pulling up the driveway. The officer told us that they received a complaint regarding noise and disturbance. I was bewildered. All I did was fix my own roof on a Sunday afternoon. Most of the house owners were doing the same, considering the fact that the same hurricane had destroyed all our roofs. Just when I was wondering why they received a complaint only about my house, the secretary of the HOA showed up. He seemed very angry as he explained to the officer that our metal roofing is illegal, considering how ugly it looks, and since it is making the most noise, I should be arrested. I was furious at this point, but my wife's hand resting on my shoulder calmed me down. She showed the officer the document stating that only old tin roofs are prohibited and then proceeded to show it to the secretary. I informed the officer that we tried contacting the HOA numerous times, but they never responded. When he went through the documents, he decided that we were right and yelled at the secretary for wasting the police force's time. They were already busy with serious cases of robbery and looting after the storms. The secretary was hysterical after this and stated that we better pay a $25,000 fine by tomorrow for violating HOA rules. He stormed off saying he would get us back if we didn't pay it. My neighbor who witnessed all the commotion came over and informed us that the HOA was going around imposing as many fines as they possibly could because they needed money to fix up their extremely expensive fountain with Greek-style statuettes because it was damaged after the hurricane. The very next evening we received a notice stating that I was supposed to attend an HOA meeting where my increased fine would be discussed for not paying the initial amount on time. My wife and I did not take this very seriously. In fact, Tara was almost excited after having read through all the laws governing the HOA and finding loopholes that would work in our favor. I am fairly certain that the secretary somehow learned of our nonchalance because at night a tow truck came by and towed my car, claiming they had received a complaint from someone stating this was a car wreck that was blocking the road. But of course it was not. That car had been very dear to Tara, and watching it get towed was the final push she needed to go all out on her takedown of the HOA. She went around the neighborhood rallying those against the HOA. This was almost every other homeowner, as the HOA had been going out of their way to extract money from all of us. She informed all of them to show up at the next meeting where our increased fine was to be discussed. On the day of the meeting, Tara did not even bother letting the HOA board speak. She stated all their violations, including prevention of an eco-friendly construction, false accusations, poor management of funds, as well as attempting to wrongfully extort money. Before the board could respond, she went on to inform them of the state law, which states that the residents can vote to impeach board members at any HOA meeting and to elect their replacements. With the support of all the homeowners, she moved to impeach the current board and read off a list of people as their replacement with me as the president. When the majority seconded the motion, it was passed, and within no time at all, we managed to completely strip the old board of their power. We went on to return the wrongly imposed fines and actually performed the duties of a proper HOA, which was to help recover from the damages and work towards a better community. So yeah guys, that is exactly how you impeach an HOA board, so to say, and get rid of them. But then again, I guess I would prefer to live in a neighborhood that had no HOA board at all. Either way, if you enjoyed the story, then please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments, because that would help me tremendously. The next one is titled Revenge on My Boss. I work at a vape shop which is already in a rough space due to regulations and laws the government is putting on us. Due to this, we are well aware that certain products we sell and are made were highly illegal and enforceable at any time. So I, 25 male, have been working at my job for a little over a year and a half. The owner of the company is the one who hired me, and she was the biggest sweetheart in the world. Unfortunately, she was forced out of her company by her son. He is the type of person who believes that he is always right, and if you don't agree with him, he will completely ignore you or fire you. He literally forced his mom into retirement by threatening to unalive himself, and continues to use that card every time. She even says she wants to come to visit. Last winter we had a massive snowstorm. Getting to work was rough, but we were told that we had to come anyway. We get there and the snow is not plowed from the parking lot because he did not want to pay the guy to do it, so we had to do it ourselves. Due to the lot being absolutely massive, we could not get it all done in time for us to help customers. As they came and went, we noticed the snow being patted down into the ground and essentially turning it into a slip and slide. Of course, he did not do anything about it and asked me and another coworker to clear all the garbage out of the other side of the building. When I did, I slipped and hurt myself. However, I did not file for workers' compensation but told them I would need to rest myself while at work. The next shift I sat almost the entire shift because I couldn't do anything, so I sat on my phone only to get up to help customers. The next day my manager tells me he got out of a meeting with the owner's son and I was suspended for a week, 5 shifts. As I'm a college student and rent an apartment and have car payments, I could not afford to lose 5 days of pay. I marched into his office and laid it out that either he fires me so I can collect unemployment or unsuspends me. He told me neither was happening and that he was going to use me as an example to the rest of the employees. I was pissed and cursed him out. He does not like confrontation, so he shortened my suspension to get me out of the office. He then treated me poorly and singling me out for everything everyone else also does, but I was the only one being punished. Then comes the fact that he wanted to reconcile by forcing me to do handyman work around the place and did not give me the tools, equipment or training to do or use any of these objectives. This was the tipping point for me, the revenge. Due to being constantly singled out, I came to learn that everyone else was unhappy with this fact. I learned all the dirty little secrets about the company, including illegal products, labor violations, tax violations, etc. I used these secrets that I learned to call multiple government agencies, FDA, OSHA, DOL, and report him by name. First, OSHA came and did an inspection on my day off. He told everyone they only cited him for a small violation and he was good other than that. I was obviously angry at that, but a few weeks later I got a packet in the mail telling me he got cited for everything and he was getting massive fines. I then get called into the office again with the manager who told me I was suspended. He proceeded to tell my manager that he was getting demoted for not writing me up more and that I was no longer getting my raise until I fixed my attitude. This, of course, was right after he said, "I don't care that you called OSHA." This little act is known as retaliation, which is illegal to do to people who called a protected agency like OSHA. He refused to even look at me at this point because if he did anything, that would imply he was punishing me for calling OSHA and I would have a lawsuit to destroy him. Now to today, another day off for me, and I get a text from my coworker at 11 AM. That message was, "FDA is here, the manager quit and it's crazy." The FDA and IRS came rolling in full force in black trucks and SUVs. They came in and raided the place, seizing all illegal products and all the paperwork pertaining to the business. They are still there as I write this, so hopefully there will be more to come, but knowing how this works out in most cases, I won't have a job much longer and I will be on unemployment. Update number 1, the ATF also showed up. They confiscated all the house-made juices. We apparently don't have a manufacturing license. None of us knew this, and that means we may no longer be able to sell products. The IRS showed up because there's a possible cause for an investigation into tax evasion. As I learn more, I will continue to update. And yeah, Ripe Stars, in case there are any further updates, I will keep you updated. Usually I don't post these kinds of stories that are not 100% concluded, but I thought this was too interesting not to post it. And also I'm kind of curious if OSHA can give OP something like whistleblower protection or something, because I'm kind of concerned for OP's safety here. Also, I really hope for OP that he can indeed claim unemployment. If something similar has ever happened to you, let us know in the comments. But now let's continue. This one is titled, "Karen made fun of me and regrets it." I am a grocery store cashier for a very small chain in southeastern Michigan. For 6 hours a day, 4 days a week, I ring order after order of groceries. Believe me, it gets monotonous. About a week or two ago, it was a super busy day. I had been going non-stop for 2 hours with no time between customers. That is when, during the short 5-minute lull that miraculously arrived, Karen came along. I went through my usual spiel, "Hi, how are you, paper or plastic, etc." and started ringing her groceries. She had a lot of fruits and veggies, which is cool, better than some of the things I have to ring. Don't ask, seriously. And then came the grapes. Now, don't get me wrong, I love grapes. They are sweet, crunchy, tart, and they don't require really any prep before you can eat them. Yum! No, my issue was with the large spider that was in the bag with the grapes. I have a serious spider phobia. When I was a kid, a spider, no idea which kind, we were on a family biking trip through a nearby nature trail when it happened, bit me on the arm. And over the course of a few days, my parents just thought it was a mosquito bite at first, and it swelled up into a big hard lump the size of a softball. I still vividly remember the night they finally realized that they needed to take action and rushed me to the nearest hospital ER. This was traumatizing. Ever since, I cannot see a spider without shrieking and freezing up. Any other bug in the house? No problem. However, I see a spider, one of my brothers has to come rescue me. So, as you might imagine, the large bag of grape spider did not go over well. I managed to mostly quell the shriek instead of letting out a strangled yelp, and jolted back from the register and offending bag and refused to touch it again until the spider was very dead. My grocery store is one of those that still has a separate bagger job, so I was not alone at the register. The very nice kid who was my current beggar was kind enough to come around and remove the spider-infested sack of fruit and went to get Karen a new bag. I then apologized and started to scan again, and as soon as he left, the ridicule began. "It was just a spider. Why did you freak out? Are you seriously telling me that a grown-ass woman had to have a teenage boy rescue her from an itsy-bitsy spider? How pathetic. Just get over it. It was the size of a pea at best. I carried that bag all the way over here. I'm scared of spiders and I was just fine. You should not have had an issue swiping it and moving on for 5 seconds." And so on and so forth. Meanwhile, I just had to sit there and smile at her. As soon as he came back, she shut up and was a smiles and compliments for such a nice young man. That was where I decided to get petty. Now, in my store, produce is rung one of 2 ways. It might be the same everywhere, I don't know, but anyway. It's either rung up by count or by weight, so we have a scale built into the register to weigh items. Grapes are priced by weight, so I went ahead and dropped the new spider-free bag on the scale. While I typed in the produce code, I made sure to ever so stealthily place my thumb on that scale and apply the slightest bit of pressure, magically turning 2 lbs 7 ounces into 4 lbs 2 ounces. And at 3.99 per pound, it made a difference. Mind you, Karen had a huge order, so that 1 pound 7 ounces did not noticeably affect the total. But if Karen was going to mock me like that, then turn around like she had done nothing wrong and praise my coworker, she was going to have to pay for it. And pay for it she did. And yeah, ripe stars, I would say that Karen definitely got what she deserved. You should not mess with or make fun of people's phobias. I can totally get where OP is coming from. Do you have any phobias against any animals? Let us know in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you again tomorrow. The next one is titled Landlord Issues. I'm a landlord, and having lived paycheck to paycheck and working 2 jobs most of my 20s and 30s, I finally saved up enough to invest in some real estate, flipped a couple of properties and turned my second job into working for myself, and now at 50 I own a few rental units but still work a full-time job. I get the working class and what it is like struggling to have a place to live, truck to drive and food to eat. My mother was single and raised me and my brother, and she struggled too. So as a landlord, I tend to be soft on people that were just like me at one time. I rented an apartment to a single mother, SM, and at first it was a couple, but the husband left for whatever reason, and it was just her and the baby. She could not pay rent on time because she only got paid once a month, so I gave a little grace and changed the due date to the 7th and never charged her a late fee as long as she paid by the 15th. She could barely afford food and utilities, so I put ceiling fans in the unit to help keep it cool, and I had an old washer and dryer set from an older unit, and I installed them for her so she could wash her clothes. My wife also would sometimes babysit for her, and we also made sure she had diapers for the baby and food. In one of the other units was another couple. The husband worked and she stayed home. When they had a baby, I sent them a card with a $50 gift certificate and wished them well. I was not prepared for the response. She wanted to renegotiate the rent, wanted a brand new washer and dryer, ceiling fans, and complained the $50 gift certificate would not even cover diapers and formula for a month. So I ignored her, but then the rent started being late. After my letters were ignored, I made a courtesy call. She was indignant that I would ask her to pay rent on the 1st when other tenants could pay it on the 15th with no late fees. She was still demanding a washer and dryer, and not old used ones either, and she said I owed her for utilities since I did not furnish them with ceiling fans. Everything I had done for the SM in the other unit she felt I owed her. Again, I ignored her and sent a demand for rent on time or pay the late fees. A few months later, I am on the property doing my quarterly inspections, changing batteries and smoke detectors and new AC filters, stuff the SM won't even look me in the eye. She does not even want to let me in the unit, and she is acting very odd. So I call my wife over and we ask to sit down and talk. It takes some effort, but SM finally told us she heard from the other neighbor that I had been inappropriate towards her, and that was buttering SM up for other reasons. I was livid, but I calmly explained the reason I was helping her was that I was raised by a single mother too, and I was just paying it forward. I also told SM about all the demands that crazy woman made with the rent and appliances, and SM was shocked. I chose to not renew the lease for the crazy woman. SM stayed for a few more years before meeting someone new and she moved in with him. I still help folks that struggle, but I am very careful not to do too much or it causes rumors and problems.